All right, Nick, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning, defending back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, as we're legally obligated to say. And there's one guy who is really starting to turn heads, and one Chiefs great, one former Chief, has really taken notice. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Chiefs have someone who's really starting to turn heads, and there's one former Chief who has spoken up and talked about how impressive it has been so far, and that's none other than former Chiefs tight end Jason Dunn. Let's get into the article when we talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, is from over on Chiefs Wire. It says, footage of the team's new look offense has captivated Kansas City fans over the last few weeks, and the performance of rookie Luis Reese-Zamet caught the attention of former Chiefs tight end Jason Dunn, who featured the former rugby star in a breakdown on Twitter. This is the tweet. It says, "There's something else on the return that caught my eye. Watch Luis Reese-Zamet's pursuit and angle. He starts on the left side of the screen about 20 yards from Hardman, then closes with speed on the tag off. Great display on where his speed and tracking is valuable in the open field and a real possibility on special teams this year. Other RB things he's still learning, but special teams is where Luis Reese-Zamet truly is at home. The question is, does this require a roster spot? Only time will tell, but it's well done nonetheless." Nick, it's very interesting. I think Dunn points out that, Reese-Zamet, really what the Chiefs brought him in to do on special teams is really starting to get highlighted. We're seeing the possibilities that he can bring there. Curious what your thoughts on this are. But before we get to you, Nick, Chiefs fans, in the comment section below, let us know, who are you the most excited to see in preseason? Obviously, Luis Reese-Zamet, very interesting guy, but I think some other players that are worth noting as well. Let us know who you're the most excited to see this preseason in the comment section below. And while you're down there, check out the description below the video to see our recommended book. We've recommended it all offseason. We're going to keep recommending it until there's no more books to buy. And that is none other than Mike Florio's Playmakers. It's a great book. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes featured on the cover. So, Chiefs fans, you're going to love it. It goes through the ins and outs of the NFL very well. So, check out the description and the Amazon affiliate link below the video if you're interested in getting the book, because it costs you nothing extra and it really helps us out. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest Chiefs update?
Look, when it comes to Zemet, I think everyone kind of imagined him being a special teams player, at least early on, obviously, right, with his rugby background. But I think it's very interesting. We're also talking about him not just potentially returning kicks and punts, but also being a kick coverage guy. Again, that rugby mentality could be a huge asset, especially with the new modified dynamic kickoff or whatever they're calling it these days. Could be a huge addition for this Chiefs football team that really prides itself on their special teams. If you look at where the Chiefs are really good, outside obviously Patrick Mahomes, if you look at their PFF grades, they're good everywhere, but they're great only in one spot, and that's special teams. They had the fourth best special teams ranking according to PFF in 2023. They value special teams. It's kind of a under the radar thing the Chiefs emphasize, and it has worked really well for them in the past. And I think the addition of Zemet and the growth of Zemet will be a huge part of that for 2024 and beyond. And look, Jason Dunn coming out saying these things, it means a lot, because he was the prototypical old school grinder, right? Backup tight end, blocking tight end, paired with Tony Gonzalez. Played a lot of special teams throughout his career with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, a lot of special teams. So this is a guy who played that area, knows that mentality. But it's not just a former player, not just a former Chiefs great. He's also a current coach. He coaches special teams. He's a special teams coordinator at the Division II level. So this is a guy who knows special teams ball at a really good level, right? It's what his day-to-day job is now, is coaching special teams in college. He played it a lot in the NFL. He's obviously got the Chiefs background, the Chiefs connection. This is a really great sign for Zemet. And we haven't heard a lot about him just because the headlines of Worthy and Hollywood Brown in the offense have just kind of dominated the Chiefs training camp to this point. But I think Zemet's growth as a weapon in the special teams game is going to be really important, because we know this Chiefs team, we saw it last year. Their strategies, it's gonna be ugly at times. Even with Worthy and Hollywood Brown, their offense should be better. But there's going to be games, looking at the Ravens AFC Championship game, look at the Bills divisional game, where it's going to come down to a couple key plays, maybe on defense, maybe in the special teams department. And I think Zemet can certainly help them out on special teams. This looks like a great addition, this young rugby star, to this Kansas City Chiefs team.
Yeah, Nick, and when you bring up Don and you talk about his coaching acumen, his ability to highlight talent and special teams, one thing I really always notice about guys who are in the special teams realm, who are special teams coaches, people who know that kind of stuff, they really only highlight stuff when they think they're gonna be right. Because special teams is kind of hard to analyze. Special
Yeah.
teams is something that people, quite frankly, when you're talking about the three phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams, it's last for a reason. It doesn't really move the needle all that much. So when a special teams guy comes out and starts to talk about something, you have to take notice because it's something that's probably very important. And what I think Dunn is seeing in a guy like Reese Ahmed is a guy that, he's bringing up that narrative. He's putting that thought in people's heads. Is this guy worth a roster spot for being a special teams player? I think he thinks he is. I think we're going to see throughout this preseason that special teams is going to be a much bigger part of the game this year. I think getting Reese Ahmed, like we talked about in our earlier videos about him for the Chiefs, was a really smart move. It's a guy who untraditional in the football world and as far as things he can do, but I think they can develop him there. But I think day one being a contributor on special teams is going to be really big for Reese Ahmed, and I think it's going to be big for the Chiefs as well. And I think this will be a really smart move when we see it progress through the season.
Well, you bring up a great point, and I agree with you there. I think special teams is going to be a lot more important this year because of the new kickoff rules, because it's going to be kind of the Wild West. Everyone's going to be scrambling, trying to figure out the best way to cover kicks and return kicks. And obviously, with all these new strategies and schemes, everyone's kind of just trying to figure it out. But the one way you can get ahead of the curve is have really talented players, really talented athletes be special teams guys, right? The Chiefs have done this in the past. The Patriots famously did this for a number of years as well. All these really smart teams, all these dynasty kind of intelligent teams, they always try and focus on sort of an area of the game where other teams are a little light, and they put some great athletes there. That's exactly what the Chiefs are doing here. I think Zamet's going to have a big impact. I think he's pretty much guaranteed to make the roster at this point. I think he's too good of an athlete and too much of a special teams weapon to not do it. And I think in a lot of key moments during the regular season and maybe during the playoffs too, Zamet will make some big plays for this Chiefs team in the kicking game.